Hey. Welcome to this Sunday meeting. And we have wonderful Liliana Bellini with us. And it's so heartfelt. I'm cordially invite you to this conversation. Liliana is an esteemed guest for me. So prepare yourself to jump into the perspective on mental health that, who knows, might transcend stigmas and diagnoses. I hope that Liliana will draw from her decade-long journey mental well-being of marginalized individuals and communities. She will share her unique insights that I'm sure will challenge your existing notions. And I'm going to tell you just a short bio what Liliana's been up to the last decade. So she's the co-founder and director of the Big Simple. That's a social enterprise committed to helping vulnerable young adults and their families to uncover their innate potential to create successful and happy lives. Her impact is far-reaching, having worked with diverse groups of people from prison inmates to housewives, teenagers on the brink of crime, individuals grappling with homelessness, addiction, mental health issues, and even the occasional celebrity. Liliana's work has touched lives across the spectrum. From 2016 to 2020, Liliana worked as a freelance lead facilitator for Beyond Recovery, delivering programs to groups of people in custody. The last program she co-led for this organization was a hugely successful 6-month knife crime prevention program. Since 2018, Liliana has also worked as a program creator and lead facilitator for A Slice of Happiness. She's an inspiring and inspired 3 principles educator who brings depth, kindness, and love to all her work, no matter how complex and difficult it seems. She works and lives with the absolute certainty that beyond labels, diagnoses, circumstances, and past events, everyone is whole and remains able to experience life with peace of mind and contentment. Welcome, Liliana.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure. And after that, maybe I can go because you know everything about my professional life. It's a great pleasure to meet new people and to be in a new space for me. It's always feels like a privilege, and there is a sense of kind of expansion of this work. So I was very excited to be here with you today, and thank you, Thomas. This brought us back together after quite a few years of not speaking, so not being in touch. I know you're there, and I know that I can always reach out, but you know, life happens. So this is a great excuse to reconnect with you as well. You're a very special man. So I'm here. I love to serve this space so that it's of value to you and to your community. So thank you for being here, for taking the time on a Sunday. I don't know what the weather is in in Sweden. Here is so. So thank you for taking the time to join in us in this conversation. And I hope, you know, I can bring value to your Sunday and to your understanding of the principles. If you're new, is there anyone who's new to this understanding that we talk about? Is there anyone new here? No? Will this recording be shared with maybe people who might be new?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
We're always students, so I guess.
Of course.
Always something new to learn.
I really feel new to this most days. So, so I mean, I really like the idea of keeping it open and informal, and encouraging you guys to ask questions. Obviously, I've had quite a journey with this. It doesn't feel like a long time sometimes, but then when I look back and I hear you reading out my bio, and I think, oh my goodness, I'm getting old, older, and but it does feel so fresh. Still, it feels like I'm a newbie, and that we can't say that about many things that we learn. Certainly this has that quality, because we continue to be human. Even after we hear about this, we continue to be human. We continue to experience our life and forget that it can be more simple. It can be, there can be more connection and simplicity moment to moment. So, and this kind of gives us a nudge. We hear something in this insightfully, and then it's somewhere there, and it gives us a nudge when we are in life and we just wake up instead of staying asleep in often a very unpleasant dream and experience for a week, a month, a year, 10 years. This has the ability to bring us back and wake us up. And then we feel, we see it as if it's the first time. And it's refreshing, it's comforting, it's liberating. And it just takes us naturally, effortlessly back to a nice feeling. And it's not much is needed. It's just that little nudge from within ourselves. So I encountered this, I came across this as I was coming back from a breakdown, a mental breakdown, 14 years ago, 15 years ago. So, and it was a really the dark night of the soul we hear about. I thought I would lose myself. I thought I would just have to check out and call it a day, because I was so scared, and life felt frightening, and I felt hopeless. And I'm not going to go into details on why, because from a conventional way, psychologically speaking, I could point at certain things that were happening. But then looking back, it's how I use this amazing mind, what I did with it, where I went with the thinking that I was having, how much I followed certain thoughts and got caught up in them, and without knowing that I had options to kind of let them come through and go. And I didn't know that I was creating it all within. It was an inside job. But somehow I made it through, and this was waiting for me. And this was the best explanation I've ever had about mental health. And I just took a deep breath. That was such a relief when I started to have insights on a couple of things. First of all, I had a sense. I remember going to a conference in London, and I had a sense, I don't know, I was listening to one of the teachers, and I was deeply hit by something, and I had a sense of who I was beyond all the stories and the ideas and the noise. Who am I? Who am I? you know, we also often ask that questions. And it was the first time, but I can't even wrap it up and give you a definition. I just had a sense of a great expansion and potential. And I remember coming home and being just high on this like feeling of, so that idea I had about myself, which was neatly contained in a box. I'm not that. I'm that, but everything else outside it. So that was big, and I couldn't even talk about it. That was my first insight. And it came from within me. I don't know, something, a crack in that rigid, kind of fixed idea I had of life and myself. There was a little gap and something sneaked in, and I had a major insight, and I can't even pinpoint what it was, but I had this sense of expansion and possibility. I remember thinking, oh my God, and things started to make sense and clicking, and you know, and I started to think, okay, so that's not who I am. Who I thought I was is not quite accurate, and it can't contain me. So that's the first thing that I had. And then as I relaxed into that feeling of a greater me, I started to make sense of thought creates feeling. We think and we feel what we think. So that started to, okay, in real time. So I will be in life, and I could see myself going into the usual kind of loop and having a feeling from it, and then having like stepping back and seeing the distance, the space between the experience and me. And I started to make the connection that if I think about something, if I get very interested in a thought, on a train of thought, then I will have a feeling from that. And it doesn't have, as much as I think it does, doesn't have much to do with what's going on outside or what has gone on last week or this morning, but it has everything to do with what I'm doing in my mind about that. How am I using my mind about that? Where am I going? How much stacking am I doing? Thought stacking. And so I started to be curious, and then without realizing, I felt an ease and at ease with life. And I kind of, there was a calmer feeling within me about life, about showing up in life, about myself, about how inadequate and kind of broken I thought I was, you know. I thought I was inadequate, you know, most days. I hid it well, but I thought there's something wrong with you, and you've got to either just accept it, live with it, and maybe you're different. There's another thing, you know, there's something wrong with you, and it's so I don't know. I started, you know, this new feeling I had started to spread naturally without even me realizing, in all areas of my life, various areas of my life, even the toughest, trickiest areas where, you know, I thought they were beyond help, like my relationship, my marriage. It reached that. So one day I found myself on holiday with my husband, and I just thought, who is this man? Who is this man that I've been with back then? Must have been 25 years, and it was fresh. And I didn't take my thinking about him on holiday. Somehow I thought, let me travel light. let me go on holiday with him without the thinking I have about him. And it was magical. So, and I had given up. I thought it's one of those things that you kind of accept, but it's not good. It's not great, but you just accept it. And so, but it's beautiful because I didn't actually, with all the workshops, I did relationship kind of seminars, and I dragged into, weekends of, and then there was a little bit relief for like a week or two, and then everything would just, go back. This kind of seemed to sustain because I wasn't trying to be the good wife and that meets his needs, and and I wasn't trying to do it for the kids, wasn't trying to. So, and I just found myself sometimes pausing and allowing a space to see my thinking about him and myself. I started to observe myself in that dynamic and in life. And that kind of brought space for something new and fresh, and new realizations, new understanding, new perspectives about anything. And so my life I love how you inevitably manage to remain human and to feel everything. And at the same time, there is a way in which, I flow, and I kind of, it doesn't get sticky and stuck and hard, and it can, but not for long. And so I started to think, this is good. This is good. I shouldn't just have it to myself. That wouldn't be nice. This is something that people need to know about. And not only that, everyone, not just those ones who can afford it. Because I spent so much money to do a training. I feel sick just thinking about it. I borrowed it, and it took me a long time to give. And to be honest, it's something that we can become more and more aware in our own time, in our own way, and it's already there anyway. So it's about kind of discovering it, uncovering it, and enjoying it. So, but I became quite passionate about make this conversation available to everyone, and so I started to say yes to invitations that had a lot to do with marginalized communities and cohorts, and then in my own personal life, we lost very close, beautiful member of my family to mental health, drug abuse, and suicide, and he took his own life in prison. So, and I didn't even consciously said to myself, this should be available to people in custody. But it happened. I found myself in a prison here in UK, and with a little bit of understanding, no experience whatsoever, no experience of prison. So, I was just middle-aged woman with an accent. I'm Italian. And I said yes. A friend of mine, colleague, and someone I trained with said, "Oh, would you come and help me?" She didn't have any experience either. So that was a very pioneering kind of project. Incredible. And you see the lady, she's called Jacqueline Hollows. She is the founder of beyond recovery. So I was asked to go, and I was kind of there from the beginning, more or less a few months later. And we just worked together, this small team, and we continued for like 5 years. We worked with 800 individuals in custody. We ran programs and one back-to-back programs, and it was such a beautiful opportunity to actually see how true it is what we talk about, when we say, well, we all have it, and we're all equal at that level. And, nobody's broken. And I thought, so when I work with the absolute certainty. I already had it, even before all the work I've done, that who we truly are can't be damaged, because it's beyond any ideas. Ideas can be damaged. We can have ideas of damage, thoughts of damage, but our true selves remains intact. So I kind of knew that, but then I thought, all right, I've been blessed by the opportunity to see how true that is, by working with hundreds of people who had been written off by society, like, nah, it's not true for you. So we ran in full immersions, 3 days in prisons, or 10 weeks programs once a week, and we worked, we would say, individuals who nobody wanted on their courses and programs in prison, we would say, send them to us. So we did work with anyone and everyone. And we saw miracles, beautiful things, amazing awakenings to how the mind works, this very simple description of how the mind works. And then, we had resistance sometimes on, no, I'm broken. People are like, no, you can't tell me that. I'm not broken. You can't, they would resist that, many of them. But so many would just, something was sneaking, just like it happened to me, and you're hit by the realization that you're still perfectly equipped with everything you need to start to understand life and experience life in a completely different way. And then I continued on. Another organization said, oh, can you please come? So I had the pleasure of being at the beginning of 2 big organizations, that are really, they're change makers. So together we became change makers, because what's happening here in UK with mental health and the 3 principles is going to explode. And I feel so blessed that I've been part of this movement. And you'll see and you'll hear, maybe, hopefully, you'll hear what's happening in, the next year or so, because it's quite big. Because you want to change the system, and sometimes you're overwhelmed because the system is like, how can you even start, And yet, we just kept doing it. It was like, if you think about the big picture, it becomes a bit overwhelming. But if you keep kind of giving this message in your own way, in your own time, in your own community, then it has an inevitable ripple. Inevitable. So that's what I've noticed anyway. And so, yeah, there's that. And then I have a social enterprise, and there's exciting things are happening with that. It's called the Big Simple, because it's big and simple what we teach. And we've just now collaborating with UCL, which is one of possibly the best university in UK. They've just given us funding to do a project with them, and so that's all amazing things. But it is, I think, the way it has grown and what has happened is by just doing this little bit here in our own way and keep doing it and giving this simple message in this moment now, you know, without getting too carried away about tomorrow. It's just now. Anyway. I love to open it up and see what is coming up for you guys. If there's anything you want to ask, you know, I'm here. I hope I can answer any whatever questions or curiosities, or if you're, you know, you want to know anything about whatever. I'm really open, and I welcome any comments or any questions.
Hello, nice to listen to you.
Hello, Roger?
Roger.
Roger, with a G, not with a G. Okay,
Yeah, Roger.
Roger.
Oh, very, very nice to hear you. And fantastic work you've been doing. I don't know if it's happening in Sweden, but obviously it's happening in the UK. Now, I would just like to ask you, for the moment, I'm involved in a clinic in Stockholm that work with very severe sexual abuse and incest and, you know, like ritual sexual abuse of children, etc. Have you worked with this population? Because obviously it's a very, especially if it's been going on, like, for example, 10 years, you know, incestual things like that. Can you tell a little bit about that? Would be very interesting, because they work. I think the people that are there, I'm just there like a little bit advising around addiction and other things, but they work in a pretty traditional model, and it takes quite a long time, obviously, you know, when you have this dissociate identity disorder and things. So they like say they need to work like, you know, 2-3 years if it's really severe. But can you say something about that, if you worked with this population, when you really have just fragments of memories, and it's, you know, all kinds of somatic problems and psychiatric problems, and, you know, very often in psychiatry has not been addressed, the trauma even. So this clinic is very good to address the trauma, but they don't work with 3P. But that's why I was wondering if you have something to say about that.
And you're there, are you working there? Are you volunteering?
Yes, I'm volunteering. So I'm not working as a trauma therapist or anything. I kind of volunteer and support the couple that leads they have like 100 patients in treatment and 1,500 online, because they don't get any help in psychiatry. It's a very touching just to be there, and it's a very, very beautiful couple that runs it, and the woman has herself been severely abusive, and her husband is a psychiatrist, and a very beautiful man and they have all, you know, they're not necessarily in 3P, but they certainly know what you're talking about the true self and all that, and they are
beautiful
on that path. But I just wonder if there is a shorter path if you meet someone with this severe situation.
I have met, I have certainly worked, the Beyond Recovery team, there was a prison next to it, and it was only for a sexual abuser. And a few of us, I didn't go, but a few of us went, and but in my own personal journey, I have worked with sexual abusers and people abused with a history of domestic abuse. In fact, we've just created a team for this project with UCL, and we brought in people with lived experience. And one of them is this amazing woman who is a single mom, and she has a long history of sexual abuse and domestic abuse. And it is incredible to listen to her and to listen to her insights on this that freed her, because she had done many different things, and she'd been helped greatly by refuge, hostels and stuff where she could be safe. She could be kept safe. That's very important. And then she was supported, mental health and stuff. And then she came to our groups with the Slice of Happiness, which is one of the organizations, and just started to sit back and listen. And at one point she thought, hold on a minute, something dropped. And she was so rigidly stuck in the ideas of her being severely damaged. And then something started to open up around her and wake up. She woke up. And the way she talks about it is mind-blowing for me. I mean, I have to sit back and just take it in, and I'm like really learning, and allowing that space, because it's gold at a spiritual human level. It's gold. And so going back to your question, what makes you want to be there?
I have been sexually abused myself, and I've been through addiction treatment, and I worked also with addiction together with Hanna here and some other people.
Yeah.
So I have a background, and my sister was severely sexually abused when she was belted in a psychiatric hospital when she was 16.
Yeah.
So so that's the reason. And I worked with Hanna. We worked with men and women that had some whatever you call compulsive behaviors around sex and relationships. And I noticed that about 70% of the women there had been, of course, sexually abused in some way or the other, and 50-60% of the men. But I mean, it was not a 3P approach. It was more like a 12-step, and the trauma were more traditional. So I was just wondering if there was some clinical space somewhere in the world that works with this kind of severely traumatized population.
Yeah. Well, it's there are probably pockets of 3 principals, teachers who offer that space, and certainly in England it's growing. And listening to you, I can imagine just how much love you want to bring, and I feel where you're coming from, which is possibly the most important ingredient as well. Sydney Banks used to say love and understanding, which is, to me, they're the same thing. And I can spend hours reflecting on the meaning of that. Love and understanding they overlap, they're the same thing. But I certainly hear it from you. And I can imagine just, you're here, so you've embraced yourself, and you've embraced an understanding of yourself and life, which makes you come here and love yourself in a different way. That is the most important thing. And you want to continue, go deeper with that for yourself. For yourself. You're attracted to helping a certain demographic, certain, group of people for your past, but also because of the love you have in you. And this understanding is small but infinite. It's like one point, one dot that goes infinite depths. It's not like 100 different points and concepts. It's one, and then it goes deep. keep going deep. And then if you really truly want to help, of course, these two beautiful people who run this center, it would be amazing if they would also start to understand, start to see it for themselves, for them in their own lives.
I think they have pretty good, not necessarily 3P. If this is going to be recorded, I understand, and I would like to enable this couple. You know, they work with 10 therapists to listen to this, and the way I've talked to them, they even written a book talking about the true self, and they come to that place in a different way. But I'm just thinking about the way the work is done.
Yes.
So do you go abroad and work physically, or?
I'm open to everything where my heart takes me, and you know, logistically but to be honest, I really follow. There is this beautiful thing about this understanding is that really helps us to have a different kind of guidance, which is, you know, within us, and it's intuitive and it's very fresh and in the moment. So
I have another question immediately. Sorry, I take a lot of time. But the question is, in UK, if you go, for example, this clinic has some connection with the socialized medicine. They have they have very hard to find money for this, obviously, because this is a group that nobody really cares about.
Yeah.
But do you know any clinic anywhere that is connected to socialized medicine or that kind of we work with this population with severe sexual
socialized trauma. Sorry,
I mean socialized medicine, like
socialized medicine, which you mean? What do you mean by that?
No, I mean it's paid by the government.
Oh, okay. Medicine, like conventional medicines.
No, I mean that this clinic has some of the money from a government source.
Oh, okay.
From tax money. It's not 70%, I think, is from private money. But so I just wonder if there is any clinic of this type with 3P, you know, focus, working with this population with any getting any money from kind of source, you know, from.
Yes. I mean, like the whole big project with a Slice of Happiness is partly funded by the NHS now.
Slice of happiness, you call it.
Slice of happiness, yes.
Okay.
A slice of happiness. And it's because we've been measuring everything as much as you can measure inside, which is like a tricky thing anyway. But, you know, they want to see some kind of... So we have been quite good at collecting evidence, strong evidence. So we've been doing that throughout. So and also we have results and feedback from participants and stuff. So it's becoming easier and easier to get funded, and also not necessarily government funding, but some of it, yes, but not fully. Sometimes it's private funding, but it's the result of years of doing the work without worrying about the funding. So I had to have different jobs to be able to do that, you know, for quite some time. And now I can be paid. And but yes, that is, I think it's going to happen, especially in UK over the next year. We'll see a big thing,
so you might even have some studies on this kind of population with severe trauma.
Yes.
Great.
We measure everything and we welcome everyone. So it's not like it's only one demographic. It's a mixture, but within the mixture there are severe cases of mental health and abuse and all of that.
Fantastic.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
I had a lot of questions, Liliana, but it seems like you answered a lot of them through this conversation with Roger. And
you fire ahead anyway.
And so, I really think you hit something for me, So how can we create an environment where people feel safe to explore and express themselves, like without getting faced with judgments? And
that's a good question. Because it is important to feel safe and comfortable, isn't it? I mean, for all of us. And so it depends on what kind of space you create in terms of hours and setting, and how the program is designed. But for instance, for the community groups online, which is after COVID, they've been online, which has been a blessing really, because we can reach people who would never leave their home. So we have many people who don't put the camera on and don't want to be seen or heard. So we, with that program, with the Slides of Happiness, we created, their programs 10 weeks, 3 hours a week. So for instance, answering your question about that. So everybody is invited and is encouraged to follow what feels right to them and to join and listen. If they just want to listen, there's absolutely no pressure. They just sit, they can be laying down, they can be, we ask them to take some time for themselves so that they're not rushing around. But apart from that, we say, show up with an open mind. And just maybe leave, if you can, leave some of your stuff at the door. You can always pick it up when it's finished. Lay down and with an open mind, willing to see and hear beyond what you know. Just take these things in. There's no pressure. You don't have to speak, you don't have to be seen. That's very important. And I used to do that anyway with the groups, in-person groups in prisons. Some of them would fall asleep and we would let them sleep, and it would be incredible what they would come up with maybe at the end of but so that's one thing, no pressure. This is not about remembering or making notes. It's about the opposite. It's about relaxing into a space that you just give yourself, and you're just there. See, maybe I'll hear something. And then we want the people facilitating, first of all, we want to be in the feeling. We want to be present. We want to be connected. We want to be there. And this is a big word, but it's love. This work is about love for yourself and for another human being, because we are the same. So it's like, and also the love and the gratitude for an understanding of the mind that can really alleviate pain. So, and then we want to keep it simple as possible. It's not about big words. It's not about what I know and what I'm here to teach you. It's about, let's look together towards in a helpful direction. And let's see what we can see together. Because I'm always learning, continuously learning from everything and everyone. So, and then we listen to what comes from them with no judgment. Literally, because when, understanding takes care of judgment. So it's an antidote to judgment. And this is an understanding. And that's why the judgment is like, oh, no wonder with that thinking, that stuff on your mind, no wonder you act or you acted the way you acted. It's like, that's the innocence. If we suffer, or people who are hurt people, if your mind is hurting because of all those things, that noise, so that's no wonder. You wonder. So the understanding takes care of the judgment which we may have, like when the part of Beyond Recovery went to the prison and worked with the sex abusers. A couple of them, I had a bit of thinking about that, a lot of thinking. But then you kind of, and we don't say it to undermine any kind of bad behavior. That's not about that. It's about being able to look beyond and understand that from a certain state of mind, a certain behavior makes sense. Because we're always trying to feel a bit better. We're always trying to access a nice feeling and stay there. And if we buy into certain thoughts, we will want to act a certain way. So the understanding, when we talk about this, then they start to listen, to hear, and they think, okay, well, they're probably not judgmental then, you know, it doesn't make sense. And we really believe, we really see it as the truth. So, and they feel it. And then we receive people's contributions and stories with so much compassion. We don't get stuck there analyzing it for the whole session, but we do receive it with love and compassion, because we do feel compassionate and sorry. And so, and you know, I'm sure you all agree that certain things are felt. You know, you can't pretend. If you're pretending, they know. So the more, and also it's like, for me, it was okay to see the innocence in someone else, but I was a bit of an exception. I would beat myself up. You know, oh yes, I understand, you know, but then me, one small mistake, and I'm a fool, and I'm not worthy. And this shifts, and this, I mean, I'm really seeing a lot lately about that. And I thought, oh my God, I thought I saw enough. Maybe it wasn't a lot, but it was enough. And lately I'm thinking, oh my God, there's so much more to see about my own acceptance of my own self, you know, and love for myself. I'm so happy that I'm seeing more, because that was my Achilles tendons, you know. It's like, okay, you know, that was my weakness. I can so easily go into self, you know, beating myself up. You're not good enough, you know, you're a charlatan, you're a fraud. Why did you say that? You know, you stupid woman. But lately I'm like, I've had these insights about rejections and stuff, and I love what I'm seeing, and I'm calming down even more, you know, and I'm like, but nevertheless, you know, other things I've studied in my life, I would never have been able to show up and just be, you know. This is like, no, you show up and just be. That's the best thing you can do for everyone, you know, and just be yourself. And that I've been willing to do from the beginning, even if afterwards I would go into my head and say, no, I should have been better. So Thomas, it's a good question, and I think it's all wrapped up in this little beautiful thing that we are exploring together, and it will become natural, and people will feel your kindness and lack of judgment. And the more you feel it for yourself, the more you can create it and make it available and share it with others. I hope that touched on some things, but if it hasn't, and you have more questions around it.
Really touched me anyway.
Mm.
So you keep on answering questions I haven't even asked you as by talking to it. But I'm really interested in that connection between self-awareness and creation of a meaningful, happy life. Like, because you don't want to be self-aware, but yet you want to see thought, in my perspective anyway, have some slow down thought, give space in my life for lack of guilt and forgiveness and no blame of the past, because I realized more and more I couldn't do better even if I wished for it. And I stopped believing my thoughts that much, stop projecting them into the future and show up to what is, like more and more actually see what's in front of me. And since I joined this community, I feel that people see me like truly beyond all the blames that it keeps coming, mostly from myself. Only from myself with what I understand now, but it doesn't seem that way all the time. So it's really nice to hear you talk more about that, the connection between thought and how it seems to me like everyone are able to create a happy life for themselves no matter what. It's a bit, I don't know, bold to say maybe, but listening to Roger but we've seen so many miracles. Can you talk about some things that stood out for you?
Oh, so many beautiful people that have come across that just, just thought they kind of made up their minds about who they were and just lived a life from that space. I am this. I'm a criminal. I'm a damaged woman. I'm a drug dealer. And then, you see the light come on in their eyes when they realize that, hang on a minute, that doesn't have to be true, doesn't have to be the case. Why did I think that that was the only option? So, I mean, in the community, you have the great pleasure of, listening to people like Derek Mason, and is an amazing teacher. And I remember him in the programs in prison, and now is out there and is like one of the best teachers I know. And it's how beautiful that it's also gone beyond his story, because it's like, he has an amazing story of kind of transformation, awakening. But now it's not even about his story. It's about him.
For people who doesn't know him, or maybe, sorry. For
oh
people
yeah, Derek Mason is yes, it's a beautiful teacher. Yeah, it's a teacher, and now I met him in prison, and he was an inmate, and he was doing programs with Beyond Recovery in prisons together with other guys that became teachers in prisons. We had a training, and he is someone who came out and found his way back to the principles again, and spoke at a conference. Suddenly he was at a conference speaking, and then from within himself he found his own kind of, from its own inner guidance, is continued on. And it's like, is on the board of directors of the 3PGC, and its voice is very important and is very impactful in its simplicity. And it talks about the feeling, the feeling that we talk about, which is like a bit of an elusive concept, this feeling. What is the feeling? But we all kind of know what it is, because when we feel it, we can't even, we call it feeling, but what is it? It's this thing that is just, it's this alignment, this knowing, this deeper knowing, this calmness, this space, and he brings it beautifully. So he's on the program I'm doing, the project with the UCL that I was talking about is one of them. He's everywhere. Derek is everywhere. So that's a beautiful story. But there are so many of, on the size of happiness. We do 10 weeks and we finish and we think, no, I can't. We didn't think it could get any better, and it keeps getting better. Every program is like, no, it's impossible. No, it's better. Because it's like pops of people, like popping and like waking up. Oh my goodness, is this what you're talking about? Is this what why did I not see it? Why? And it's like, it's funny almost sometimes, because it's so simple. And then we wake up, pop, and then we think, oh my goodness, this is who I am. And this is why I don't experience myself as that. This is who I truly am: beautiful, whole, being of light and love. And I don't experience myself as that, because I'm more interested in all these layers of thoughts and concepts and ideas, and that is more interesting than what's beyond. So we start to be more interested in that, curious. Let me see what that means. And it's never wrap it all up in one thing. No, that's the beauty of it. So, but what is beyond? So we start to question all these fixed ideas. We are so attached to them, good and bad. They're our ideas. This is who I am. This is what I know. This starts like, okay, that's a bit stale. It's like eating stale bread. Yeah, that flavor of stale bread. Let's look beyond what is fresh. And infinitely, it keeps giving. So people, and it's gorgeous because it's all encompassing and no conditions. You don't have to have studied or have had like degrees, and you don't have to be from a certain religion. You don't have to, no condition. And so no wonder, you see people popping, because there are no conditions. Everybody is invited. Everybody is included. Anyone with any kind of past, it's included. I like that. Because whatever I've looked beyond, before, there's always something to do, and what if I don't want to meditate? What if I don't want to do yoga? What if I don't want to go to church? What if I'm not interested in Buddhism? What if I can't read? This is for everyone. In actual fact, if you're very attached to everything you've learned, it might be a little bit tricky for you. If you identify with everything that you know and you're proud of it, it might be tricky, because you're invested. You've invested yourself in that. So sorry, I've kind of gone off. You see how then anyone, I can't even tell you. I mean, I have flashes, and kind of right now deja vus of people, you know, waking up and that gangster in that prison, and we didn't do the gang check. We were supposed to do gang, you know, so that you don't have people from the same from opposite gangs, and they were mixed, and we were in a chapel and we had 40 people, and you know, there were gang members against, and by the end of 3 days, these big gang people were crying because we were talking about love, and because we were talking about how we are all one, and they can see that and they can, oh my God. And then so sorry, I do get carried away.
That's good. Thank you, Liliana.
Kenny.
Yeah, actually, I was on a lecture this Friday, and it's Simon Häggström. I don't know if your Swedish people here know about him. He's actually a police officer working with prostitutes. And it's really struck me because a lot of those prostitutes, the common denominator in that is that they are not feeling well. It's the well-being. And knowing about the principles, it's you really want to come in an early age just to help them to get that secure thing, because now it's a lot with it's so many ways into the prostitution. It starts very easy with like the social medias, and then you have these new sites and everything where you can sell pictures and everything, and then it's just escalating all the time. And also with the people that you're talking about when they are already in jail. But imagine helping them a lot before, because
Definitely.
Today I'm working at the social service in one unit. I can never say it. Municipality. Is it called?
Municipality, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And I'm working with people in drug abuse. They've been in sexual violence and people, that have mental illness, schizophrenia, psychosis, and it's all different things. And for me, when I meet the people, I don't necessarily need to teach anything about the principles. It's just to be there, and as you say, just to be there, trust in them that everything be careful or can move on, and so for me, it is love to see beyond, to see beyond the behaviors, to see beyond whatever happened to them, or even if, because I meet people that are abused, and I have met people that are abusing. So it's all the way, but to see beyond all that, and so with your experience, because you've been both working with individuals and you've also been working with programs, what is it that you have seen is the most effective? Because if you're going to go through individual to individual, and I know that the 3 principles are spreading around the world, so it's actually speeding up all the time. But I mean, if you really want to take it into an organization or into a government, or seek funding about it, what is your experience about the different programs, the effectiveness about that?
I would say that if you have the desire to work in this, you want to remain flexible in how you want to do it and how you want to structure, design a program. Remain flexible and see what cohort you're working with. And with them, with whoever, you know, with that demographic or the people who are at the organization, you want to have a sense of what might work the best for them. So we always keep ourselves very open to hear what might work best for you, you know, so that we can make it happen. Personally, I really love group work because there is such richness when different individuals with different histories and they come together in this conversation. Because any other therapy group would be like 20 different stories, so much content, so much digging, so much analyzing, and getting lost in the content of the story in the past, and she did this and they did that. In this organization, in this conversation, when you have a group and you are leading it a bit in the direction of this understanding, you take care of the content with love. You receive it, but you don't get stuck there. And then there is a richness that comes from different individuals when you are able to gently bring them back from their story, because it's not like, oh, let's do group therapy and, you know, everybody, I'm this and I'm an alcoholic and I'm a victim of abuse, and then that's the definition of who they are. We really want to bring them back to what we know. And then if someone starts to pop, the whole group benefits from that. Oh my goodness, last week he was talking about that, and now look at the feeling he's coming in with, you know. So it's like, and then we sit back. You see, that's when the facilitator sits back and says, okay, give it to me, give it to us. So I prefer to do that. And then like in prison, we would do that. And also we would visit each certain individual, have one-to-ones, just to give them a chance to have that space. And maybe they didn't want to speak in the group, they can speak with you just in that one-to-one. And we kind of do that with the big groups online as well. We call them and check in with them and see if they need one-to-one. There are volunteers who do one-to-ones with them. So it's a bit of a mixture, but the benefit of a group are amazing for all of us. For us, it's like, what a treat for us to just, you know, hold the group in that space and gently bring them back when they go off. Because obviously you don't want to hang out in a very analytical kind of space. So it's about us bringing them back, saying, hey, you know, we could be here talking about that for the whole day, but we want to give you something that might just help you to have a different experience of that event. So trust us, Brie, come back here and see what we can see from this, from this understanding. So I hope that helps.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for your question.
Roger, again, a short question. When you work online and in real life, can you say something about the difference?
Yeah. Oh God, when everything went online, we thought, oh no, no, not online. What about the the body language and the meeting and and kind of sometimes we hug even, who knows, it's like it's not conventional psychology. So there is that exchange. So we thought, no, we are doomed. And then we started to do online things, and it's been such a blessing, such a revelation. The feeling is 100% there, the tears, the connection, everything is 100% there. And it just makes it available to people who would never want to do it in person for whatever reason. So God sent. God sent. Yeah.
in what situations do you work in real life? And obviously in prisons and places like that, you don't work online, but in almost in all other situations, you work online then.
All of them.
All of them when you do groups.
Yeah, well, I'm not involved with Beyond Recovery anymore.
No.
They've set up, Jacqueline Hollows has set up various ways of still sending in beautiful content for them and resources. So there's been, but after COVID, it was difficult to go back because of all the reasons.
Yeah.
But now my social enterprises does an in-person meetup once a month. We call it TGI Monday. Thank God it's Monday because we do it on a Monday in London. And as a treat, someone donated a gorgeous space in London. So if you're ever in London, please come along and contact me, and we must get together as well. Come and join us. That's a treat, and it's also a platform. Whenever we need to do something online, in person, we have that space. Well, we have to ask, but the guy is so generous and amazing, so he's supporting what we're doing. And then with this project with this UCL, we might do something on in person with their cohort. But otherwise, everything has been online, and it's been amazing. Amazing. So it can be done. Because let's face it, we're talking about the formless, and we can get over the fact that we can't use our bodies and we can connect from anywhere. This is energy. So yeah. But I do love the in-person as well, a lot.
Yeah, I know. I happen to work with two American 3P, quite known coaches, whatever you call it, with a woman in the UK who is on medication. We're trying to make her, taper off heavy antidepressant, and she got some insights through online from her place in the UK with these two American ladies. They do it pro bono, and I do it pro bono as well. And it's very interesting and I work with her doctor as well, so because he has to be involved in this. But it's without this insight, I don't think she would have been able to get on with she got the insight when she was still on these drugs, but now she really wants to get off, and it's going to be a trip, or it's going to be not necessarily so easy, but with the support. But it's all online, and none of us. Her local doctor has obviously met her, but the other three of us have not met her.
Amazing, amazing work. Yes, and it's incredible. I've seen so many people who naturally and kind of quite naturally moved away from medication without even like thinking, oh, I've got to stop. And because we don't ever talk about, you should or shouldn't. It's just, and I love what Bill Pettit says about that. I love that, But it seems like once you start to understand the mind this way, and I really have a different idea of who you are, then, that seems to kind of go in the background. It's not such a life savior, not something you depend on to remain okay, just about. But, so it's interesting.
She did a tapering on her own last year, this woman in England, and she didn't have any guidance, so that went pretty bad. And she had already been with the 3P coaches in America, very good ones. So she realized she needed some help, how to taper. That's the way I got in, because I've been tapering a lot of antidepressants.
Oh,
so yeah.
Amazing. It's lovely that she has your support. Beautiful.
Yeah, and that's it. Perhaps you can mention something about that, you know, people on various psychoactive drugs and so on.
Yeah. Well, if they come and it's really, well, with all the organizations I've worked with, we don't really look in that direction, but
No.
they will come and say, look, this is happening and I don't know, is it okay? And we like talk to your doctor.
Yeah.
But it's not for us to even ever comment whether they should or shouldn't, but it just, we can reflect back to them. Oh, wow, this is what's happening. And you're seeing this, you're having the insights. No wonder you might feel that that's not needed anymore. So we reflect back what we see to be true about the need for something external, even chemical is external, isn't it?
Yeah.
To help us to cope. Because it starts to happen from within us, you know, it's like, oh, we start to feel enough from within us, and yeah, and that is true with any kind of addiction. You know, we had so many people saying, oh, do you know, Miss, they would say, Miss, I haven't really done that for now that I'm thinking about it, I haven't done that for 2 weeks. And I used to do it 3 or 4 times a week. I'm like, oh, that's wonderful. Good. But we don't actually make it into a thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, interesting, lovely. Do you feel better? Yeah. Do you like it better without? Yeah, great. You know, it's not like a thing that they should accomplish. It's just that when your innate well-being starts to be kind of felt by you, you even forget what you really needed to feel okay. You forget to take your tablets or your whatever, you know, and or you smoke less. I did a whole stop smoking because when they stopped banned smoking in prisons, it was a big issue because everyone was on. And now what? No, what can we do with that? So we did 6 months or 6 weeks. I can't remember, but we didn't even want to call it the stop smoking program because it wasn't about that. It was about this understanding. But to get funding, we had to give it that name, you know. And then we didn't talk about smoking. We did not talk about smoking. We talked about the mind and how beautiful and incredible we are. And then they start, okay, well, can we talk about smoking? Yeah, maybe next time. But why haven't we not spoken about smoking in a non-smoke stop smoking program? Well, just hang in there. Sorry, Thomas, I think you raised your hand at some point.
It seems like you answered my question once again.
No,
I
that
can
can't be.
sort of advice we don't need, but if someone who's new to this understanding or like feel like they've sort of stuck in negative thought patterns and hear about finding wisdom and original thought and common sense, and it seems like it's a big thing, but how do we know and what's the feeling all about? And
yes, and that's the beginning of a conversation that if you're in this, you're gonna have that beginning so many times because the people don't know about it, and you're like, oh, you know, and it's like every time is a bit different. Every time I hear myself and I hear, oh, that came out different. We are always coming from the same place. We want to have a sense of who they are, where they're coming from, where they're at. Where are they? with life? Where are they with the misunderstanding of the mind? How is it showing up in their life, the misunderstanding? And see, and find a point of entry, maybe, or maybe not. Maybe just listen. Maybe it could be sense of chat over a dinner, or an exchange on the train, or I've been in that space 1,000 times. And each time is different, but I'm still coming from the same place. You know, I'm like, oh my God, I've got this little thing that, I know, I think I've understood, maybe I have had a couple of insights. I think it could be helpful. And let's see, let's kind of navigate a bit with them and kind of hang out and see how it's going to come out this time. And sometimes I have like places I've grown kind of, familiar with too, in terms of how to share it, to someone who's completely new. On a program, there is the river of thought. I always do the river of thought, and they're always like, yeah, my God. I don't want to do the river of thought anymore. I'm fed up with the river of thought. But so many people say, oh, when you did the river of thought, that's it. I kind of got what you were talking about. And I'm like, okay, maybe I have to do it a bit more again, a few more times, and I can share it with you. It's not mine, but also beautiful. I have a beautiful kind of snow globe. Everybody will get that metaphor, and it's simple and it's visual. I shake it, and it says, for some reason we start to think that there is some value in shaking the globe, in overthinking life. Some reason, at some point, we picked up this notion that shaking the globe is valuable, but it isn't, never, ever, in any kind of, the more important something is, the more we want to leave the globe alone. And what do we need to do to get a peaceful mind? We put it down. That's all. That's all. So we put it down, and then everything kind of, and they're like, oh my God, yeah. Oh, this is the beginning. Of course, it's a metaphor that can't contain the magnitude of this. But hey, they start to think, okay, yes, a quiet mind is probably helpful. And so little metaphors. Yes.
No. And yet it seems like our intellect is, if we accept this as a valuable resource, it's good to know where to find your way to the bathroom and stuff like that. And
yes,
where your friends live. And
yes.
And look for fresh thought in the moment, it seems like you're talking about.
Yes.
Not with your own old.
Yeah, and I kind of.
And Hannah wants to know more about the river of thought.
That's right. It will take 5 minutes, though. It will take 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Do you have 5 minutes? Do you want the river of thought? Oh no, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe
we can skip 2 more minutes.
So I'm just gonna get my little board. Yeah, just
Lovely.
Bear with me.
Yes.
So it's 2 minutes till we finish, but so if you have to go, please. Thank you for being here.
But I was thinking about we were starting 5 minutes later.
That's true.
Mm.
I don't
But if you have to go, you have to go.
If you have to go, you have to go.
We will record it.
Yeah,
I was thinking about recording. Actually, what I was thinking when I saw Liliana, now she's not hearing us, but when I saw Liliana, she was it was something I just got a picture in my head about a heart pumping out well-being in the body with the understanding. And the veins get clearer and clearer from misguided thoughts, almost like if you have cholesterol in the veins and everything. I just saw that picture when she showed me that. That's really nice. Yeah. So that's what the understanding does, making us our heart stronger or well-being stronger.
Yeah. It's like the river of thought, but not that.
River of love.
Mm.
So it might be helpful if you can, not that I don't want to be made big, but if you, what's the word? If you put the me just as a, yeah, sorry, I don't know how to say, because I'm not even English, I'm Italian, so bear with me. So do you want to, so that you have me just me in the thought, so you can see what I'm doing?
Yes, we have you in focus.
All right.
On...
I can't see myself. Oh my God, you can see me. So what we talk about, the way we explain it visually with the river of thought is that, so this is my way, yeah? So there is you, us, any one of us here, okay? And then there is life here, outside, okay? Life. Something happens and sometimes someone will bring you an example. Oh, they did this today, this morning, someone told me that, my husband, my boss, my whatever, you know, and you're here. Something happens here, that's life. And you end up feeling a certain way, yeah? You have a feeling. And it really looks like this feeling comes from whatever happened out there. And there's no way some of them will argue with you. They'll say, no, hang on a minute, that happened and I feel this way. It's because of that. We say that there is something invisible happening. And then I say, okay, there is a river of thought. There is a river and a constant stream of thoughts. 70,000 to 120,000 apparently thoughts a day that we are having. It's constant stream, it goes through us, it's not separate, it goes through us. It's the river of thought. And are you human? Yes. So you have that. This is inevitable. If you're alive, you have this. It's going to happen from the moment you're born until you die. And then who knows? But so it's happening to all of us. That's a fact. This is a fact. It's not a theory. It's a fact. And there is us. So something happens in life. Amongst all that 70 to 120,000 thoughts a day, there's a thought about this. All right. And in itself, okay, a thought is all right. But what do? We stack more thoughts. Oh, yeah, he said that. Well, is this me? It's about me. Oh, this because of what happened 20 years ago. Oh, that's me again. And I'm stupid, la, la, la. And without realizing we are underneath a whole, in a thought storm. And this did happen. We're not making it up. But the only way we can experience that is through this initial thought. So the feelings we're having are from each and every thought, and they grow and they grow. When we do know that this can happen over here is me, you, anyone. This happens. We have a thought. Don't do anything about it. We just become aware of that thought. Yeah. And the nature of thought, that's important, is that it's transient. It's a river. It's not a pond. It's a river. When we do this, we do create a bit of a dam, you know, and so they back up and we're kind of stuck there. But there is no thought that is constantly there. It feels like it, but the nature of thought is that it's transient. It's energy. It's not solid. And then this feeling that we think is all about this is about the thoughts that we're having. That's a fact. It's not a theory. Because the fact that you get 100 different people, 1,000 different people, this happens and they have a different feeling, it means that it's not that. It's this. So what happens if we have a thought and we say, oh, okay, it's a thought. And how about I don't grab hold of it? I don't build on it. I don't stack it. I just acknowledge it and allow it to do what it does very well naturally, which is moves. It moves. Thoughts move because they're energy passing through. So I might have a little bit of a feeling, but not much. I wake up to the fact that my feeling actually, although this is not good, it's coming from me. I might naturally, because it becomes like the obvious thing is not to interfere as much. It becomes obvious. We wake up in the moment and we think, oh, yes, I could easily do that, but how about I don't? Maybe let's try. Let's have a little bit of an experiment. What if I don't do that? What will happen here? So we start to experiment and play with it and see if this is true. So they don't have to believe this, but they can go off and play with it. And what happened here when our mind is lighter? Maybe we have a thought and it moves on, yeah? What happens here is that suddenly there is space for our own, because we are rooted. This is where universal mind comes in. See, we are rooted here into mind. Sorry, they're not working this time. We are always rooted. We are always plugged in. Even when we lose our way and we get lost, we're still plugged in, but we don't know it here. Here, we're like, oh yeah, oh, I feel it now. And suddenly that I'm plugged in fact, because it's another fact, that's why they're principles. We think, we feel, and we are. It becomes obvious to us and we think, oh my God, maybe I will trust this a little less and trust this a little bit more. Sorry, not working. It becomes, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do about this, but surely it's better to be around here with an awareness of me being rooted in my own sense of knowing, in my own innate wisdom, and than being here. It becomes obvious. And I could give you a very recent example, but I know that time is running out. But something happened to me very, very scary. And I could have probably died because I fell asleep on the motorway in the car by myself. And I did the whole side of the car on the guardrail and then I woke up and I was freaking out for a few minutes. I'm shaking. And it was a bit of a shock. I stopped and, you know, and I could stay here about that. I drove home because I thought, let me be here about what had just happened, rather than here, oh, it could have happened, I could have died, and this and that. Could have stuck. Instead, I was like, no, I'm gonna stay here because this is more helpful. It was obvious to be here. That's what I love about this. It's not about let's try hard and, you know, let's do better. No, let's stick with what's most obvious. A quiet mind is more helpful. And then I can get to feel my essence and to share from that and to connect with life from that. And I have more intuition over here. I have a sense of guidance and a kindness and a compassion that over here I don't have. Why would I want to stay here? I still fall into this on a regular basis. But I ran out of fuel here. I don't like that feeling. So I've developed a kind of a preference. You know how they say, oh, you have to be neutral. I have a preference. Sorry, I'm not that neutral. I like it here better. So and here I'm creative, I'm brave, more brave anyway. I don't really care about what people think that much, you know, judgment. I'm kind. I'm fun to be with, I think, that I'm told. I enjoy life better. I don't care about getting old. I don't care about, you know, I'm present. This is being present just because I choose not to. Yeah, I want more of this. I like it better. So this is my river of soul.
I must say,
Oh,
beautiful description of what's on offer, really, for
Yes.
anyone. Such a beautiful description of wisdom living as if we let it. And
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Thank you
this, you
so
can do it
much.
to everyone, children, anyone, any demographic, anyone. You can explain how the mind works and who they truly are with this simple thing. And I'm sure your drawing will be better than mine, but it doesn't even matter. And
Thank
you
you
see
so
how
much.
it becomes accessible?
Yeah.
So anyway, gosh, we've gone past, but it's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You're
everyone.
Thank
And
you.
lots of love to you all the way from UK to Sweden. Take care, and I'll see you around. And thank you for listening, and all the best. And thank you, Ylva. Ylva suggested me, so thank you for that, Ylva. And I look forward to seeing you and connecting with you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All the best.
Next time.
Bye.